Sean Johnson here from businessprogrammer.com. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to back up an existing live WordPress website to your own computer. Now, I go beyond just backing up the site. I also cover how to painlessly set up all the elements you will need in order to run a mirror of your live site on your computer. That should also give you extra confidence that if your live site is ever hacked, you will be good to go with your backup from your local machine. I assume no prior knowledge on your part, and you get to look over my shoulder while I download and install everything required to run your WordPress site on your desktop computer. I also cover how to back up and mirror your live site so you can have a clone of it on your desktop. Now, this is an excellent way of testing out new stuff without the fear of taking out your live site. Enjoy. So step one is going to be that I need a web server environment. So what I'm going to do is on this machine, I'm going to go and get a free web server environment. In this instance, I'm going to use something called mamp. So if I put mamp into Google, it takes me to the mamp Pro screen. So I'm going to download mamp. Now mamp is an environment is an easy to use MySql and PHP environment, and Apache obviously. So as you can see, there's a Windows option as well, so that's quite good. So let's just do it. Simply click download, and no, I won't follow you on Twitter right now. Mamp has now downloaded, so let's go get it. So here we have it in the Finder, in the download section, and I'm just going to double click on it to install it. So that's pretty straightforward. Just agree and sign your life away and click continue, and I'm just going to I'll go with the standard install location. Okay, I just put in my administrator password and username. I mean, that's a clue. If you're using a Mac or a PC, it's best to operate not on an admin user. So if you have administrator privileges on your machine, create a separate account without administrator privileges, and it's just good for security, especially seeing as I'm putting myself out there on the web. Okay, so that's installed. So now let's go and set up mamp by running it. So now I'm going to run it. Let's go to my applications folder. And I'm going to go into regular mamp, and I'm going to run it. So mamp has opened up now. What we first need to do is decide where we want our web server root file, the base directory of the web server to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my documents folder. I'm going to have the base of my website. On the web it's businessprogrammer.com, but on my local machine I'm going to call it businessprogrammer.backup, and I'm going to create that folder now. When I'm accessing it on my local machine though, it's just going to be localhost, and mamp will take me straight there. So businessprogrammer.backup is set up. Let's go to mamp and tell mamp about this. So if we go to preferences, and I'm going to go to web server, and I'm going to click on the document root folder changer. At the moment it's pointing to a folder called http docs within mamp, within the applications folder, which is the default. However, I don't, and possibly you won't either, want to have your websites within your applications folder. So I'm going to documents, and I'm going to click on businessprogrammer.backup and click select, and then click OK in a moment. You can see MySql, the active version, PHP version 7, and the Apache port is 888. Web servers on the web actually use port 80, but we're going to be using 888 here. So I'm going to click OK, and now I'm going to click Start Servers, and so this will start Apache, MySql and PHP running on my Mac Mini i7. Okay, so we're good to go, and now if I launch a new site, So now if I launch a new web browser and I type in localhost 888, we have index of nothing, which is what I would expect because we have nothing in the local businessprogrammer.com site. So what I want to do now is I'm going to back up my online site. So we're going to need to use a file manager. So I'm just going to use a file manager to download it. So step one is we got to get a file manager. So what I'm going to use in this instance is something called filezilla. So if I type in filezilla into Google, you go to the filezilla project. I'm going to download filezilla client and let's do it. There. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my downloads and click there, and I'm going to drag filezilla installer.app. No, I'm just going to double click on it because it's not the app, it's just the installer. It just threw me there when it's actually showing me the icon there, but never mind. So we install it. I agree. No thanks, I do not want Yahoo taking over my home page. So now what I got to do is set this up so that it points to my home site. So now to set this up so that it will connect to your web server, what you need to do is File, Site Manager, and you can create a site. I'm going to create a new site called businessprogrammer.com. And this host and user and password information you have to get from your web host. It's basically how you log into your site. So I filled out the details for businessprogrammer.com into FileZilla now. Now it's just time to connect, and obviously I have to hide my personal information here, and I'm connected. So there's pretty much two ways that you can back up your WordPress site. The first way, and I guess the least scary way, is that you set up a local WordPress environment. You configure a theme on your WordPress site, which is the exact same theme as you have on your live site, and then you download the backup XML file from your main website to your local WordPress site and then import that. I think you have to use a plugin to do that, a particular plugin. The only issue I have with that is if you've done a lot of customizations to your main WordPress site, you have to pretty much mirror all these other customizations on your local site, unless you've got some cool plugin that does it for you. I, however, don't like to have too many plugins running. The way I'm doing it, which is, I suppose, inverted commas, a scary way, is that I'm going to download all of my WordPress site to my local machine, and then I'm going to make some changes to the database, and that's what you're going to be doing as well, but it's not that difficult when you look over my shoulders. Okay, let's get started with the next step. So what we're going to do is we've connected our file manager, FileZilla, to the main WordPress site, and what I now got to do is download all the contents of that site to my local folder. I will then follow up by amending the database. So now I'm simply just going to drag the contents of my live site onto my local machine. Here goes. Okay, so all my files have been downloaded now and they are in my website folder. So the next step is going to be to adjust the database. First of all, to do that, I need to go to the mamp page that was opened, that mamp takes you to. And within that, you have tools, and I'm going to choose phpMyAdmin. And what I'm going to have to do is to create a database now to connect my WordPress site to. So if I create my database, I'll go click on databases and I'll give the database a name, and it's going to be BP Backup. So the next step now is to create a user for this database that we've just created. This is the user account that WordPress is going to use to activate the database, to access the database rather. So here we go. We're in the database screen here, but I'm going to click on user accounts. And to keep things simple, I'm going to call the new user BP user. And I'm going to restrict that user to using the local database, so that's localhost, and the password will be BP user. And let's just retype it, BP user. And now we just scroll down to the bottom and click on go. And we've created the new user. So what we've just done is we have created a user on the MySQL database, but we have not assigned that user to the BP backup database. So the user needs to be linked to the database. In other words, the user needs to be given permissions to use that particular database. So we're going to do that now using SQL. So we click on the SQL tab, and I'm going to type grant all privileges on database DB10. So we've also got to use the \quote key. So that's on the UK Mac keyboard, the one near the Z key. Pay particular attention. You'll notice it's the one that's at 45 degrees. The regular quote doesn't seem to work within phpMyAdmin for this purpose. It works in MySQL and other places, but for some reason doesn't work here. So I'm using the 45-degree quote. And so grant all privileges on database BP backup *, which means every table within BP backup, and then 2. So we're granting all privileges on the database DB backup, including all tables, to the user BP user, and that user is in quotes as well. Oops, I've just done the wrong quote there, but let's do this. And it's BP user that's at the machine localhost with both of these quotes again. And if I click go, we should be good. And we're there. Now the thing to be aware of is that on your web server, your WordPress installation is communicating with a MySQL database on your web server, be it Bluehost, HostGate, or whoever. So what we've got to do is download the database file from there. But in order to do that, you need some details of the database as well. And you will get those details from the wp-config file. Open wp-config in a text editor and you will get the details there. So when you look at your wp-config file, you'll see that I've changed my details here. You'll see that the database name will have the database name there that is actually on your web server. And you'll see the username and the password and the host. So let's now download your MySQL database that's going to drive your WordPress site, which contains all of your details, all of your posts, all of your comments, etc. that are up on your web server. So let's do that now. So step 1 is going to be to log into your host account. So I've scrolled down to the database tools section of the Bluehost control panel, and I'm now going to go to phpMyAdmin. So once you go to your database section, what you need to do is click on the export tab, and I'm just going to take the quick option. I'm going to export the file in an SQL format, and I click go, and the file is being downloaded right now. And there is the download of my MySQL database that's powering my main site. I need to go to the phpMyAdmin that's driven by mamp. And so we've got BP backup. And what I've got to do now, you see there's nothing in BP back up. So if I, for example, if you look at a regular database, there's lots of stuff there, but when I expand this one, there's nothing there. So I now import the SQL file. So I'm basically just going to say choose file. The format is already set up as SQL, and I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click choose. And then under format specific options, I don't know why the go button is here, but this is where it is. I click go. And there we go. All of the tables, etc., have been imported. So we're going to have to make 4 changes to the MySQL database. We're going to affect 3 tables within those 4 changes. So we're going to make 1 change to WP options, or WP underscore options rather, 2 changes to WP underscore posts, and 1 change to WP underscore post meta. So let's do that now. So now what we've got to do is update 3 tables within the MySQL database. And what we're going to do is make 4 updates. So the table WP options will have 1 update applied to it, which will change the website address. All of these changes change website addresses. In addition to that, WP posts, WP underscore posts will have 2 changes, and WP underscore post meta will have 1. So let's do the WP options change first. So I've just copied in some code I've typed. So basically it's update WP underscore options, set option value equals replace option value, option underscore value, with your original, entering your original website on the web, and then comma, replacing it with the address of your local website. It's important that you don't put the trailing backslash. So we don't want that trailing backslash there. And then this change is to be executed where the option underscore name is equal to either home or option underscore name is equal to site URL. So again, update WP underscore posts, set guide equals replace GUID with original site, replace original site with new site, submit query, done. Now we're going to make another change. All these will be on the download that you can get that goes along with this tutorial. Again, update WP underscore posts, change the post content. And now for the final change. Update WP post meta, set post meta equals old site, new site, remembering to have single quotes and to not have trailing backslashes. And that should do it. So after all that hard work, it's worthwhile seeing if the actual site works now. So let's type in our local address for our mamp server, which is localhost :8888 return, and it worked. I now have my WordPress site backed up to my local machine, and if I click on one of my posts, that worked also. Now, one problem you may come across, and which I came across, is if it, for example, doesn't work when you do it initially, log in and check your plugins, because the way we've downloaded the site from the web server, all of your plugins will be active. So for example, if you have a plugin that caches your site, for example, then that can actually interfere with how your site appears to work. Also, if nothing happens when you type in, when you do what I've just done, verify that the settings in your database actually have been updated. If there's any questions on that, I will be glad to get back to you. But in a nutshell, where you've run these queries, you can do select. So for example, where you said update WP options, set option value, etc., etc., you could do select option underscore value from WP options, where option name equals home or option name equals site URL, and then that will return to you the values of your database. So for example, if the update didn't happen, you'll know it that way. So A lot of these things I will put on the blog post that accompanies this video, which you should be able to get to by clicking on this video. Maybe it's clicking here, maybe it's there, not quite sure right now. Bye for now. Hi guys, thanks for watching. BusinessProgrammer.com is about automating business workflows and providing business information. I tend to do that using technologies such as Microsoft Office, LibreOffice, Python, and various web technologies. If this kind of stuff interests you, get over to businessprogrammer.com, pop your name into the email box, click join, and I'll be sure to keep you updated with all the latest articles and free courses, etc. that I produce. Oh, and if at any time you don't want to hear from me anymore, just click unsubscribe and I'm gone. Bye for now.